Azerbaijan to target Russian citizens with rule changes after plane shot down. The country is reportedly planning alterations after an aircraft crashed, killing 38. Azerbaijan is reportedly set to target Russian citizens in the country with rule changes after a plane was believed to have been shot down by Vladimir Putin's forces, killing 38. Russia has faced criticism due to suspicions that it fired ordnance at an Azerbaijan Airlines passenger plane with 67 people on board near Grozny, in Chechnya, on Christmas Day. As they struggled to control the plane, it is believed that the pilots had tried to at one point to return to their home airport, Baku. Russia's President, Vladimir Putin, has apologized to the leader of Azerbaijan over the downing of the airliner in Russian airspace. However, he stopped short of saying Russia was responsible. In his first comments on the incident, Putin called it tragic and confirmed that the crash had occurred when Russian air defense systems were repelling Ukrainian drones. Most of the passengers on the flight were from Azerbaijan, it has been reported, alongside others from Russia, Kazakhstan, and Kyrgyzstan. Now, Azerbaijan is to target Russian citizens with rule changes. Russian news agency TASS reported on Telegram that Azerbaijan will change the rules of stay for Russian citizens in the coming days. Read more. Putin apologizes in phone call over plane downed by Russia, killing 38 INE, as Volodymyr Zelensky to be handed £1 billion in vital weapons. AI Baba Vanga's 2025 predictions, which include devastating conflict in Europe. News writes that a representative of the Azerbaijani ministry, Ikhan Hajizada, highlighted that Russia had previously reduced the terms of stay for foreign citizens. According to him, in the near future, Azerbaijan plans to make changes to the rules affecting the terms of temporary stay of Russian citizens in the country, as the tightening of requirements by the Russian side is primarily considered in the context of the rights of Azerbaijani citizens. Mr. Hajizada added, Azerbaijan, as in any foreign policy issue, will proceed from the principles of parity and reciprocity in the issues of temporary stay and migration. IDF might stay in Lebanon past the 60-day deal, officials say, due to the slower-than-expected deployment of the Lebanese army to southern Lebanon. The IDF withdrawal from the country is also going slower than initially planned, officials said. This comes as Israel enters the second half of the 60-day ceasefire deal, the so-called implementation phase. Israeli officials believe that the IDF will have to stay in southern Lebanon past the agreed 60 days. Officials told the Jerusalem Post last week that the Lebanese army is deploying in southern Lebanon, but at a much slower pace than agreed. And the question is, what to do on day 60? On November 27th, at 4 a.m., a ceasefire was signed between Israel and Hezbollah, and a 60-day test period began, after which the ceasefire will become permanent. The agreement stipulated that during those 60 days, the Lebanese army would deploy in southern Lebanon in order to operate against Hezbollah. This would then ultimately lead to a full Israeli withdrawal from southern Lebanon. Ibrahim al-Amineh, the editor-in-chief of Lebanese outlet Al-Akhbar, which is considered the mouthpiece of Hezbollah, wrote on Saturday, "We must resist the enemy's violations. The cost of confronting the occupation forces is lower than the cost of relying on what they are doing now." Netanyahu to undergo prostate removal operation. Court testimony delayed. Prime Minister will undergo full anesthesia and remain hospitalized for several days. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will have his prostate removed on Sunday after he was diagnosed with a urinary tract infection resulting from a benign prostate enlargement. His office announced on Saturday the operation will take place at Hadassah Medical Center in Jerusalem and will require full anesthesia. The Prime Minister will remain hospitalized for several days, according to his attorney, Amit Haddad, who submitted a request Sunday to the Tel Aviv District Court to cancel his scheduled testimony this week in his ongoing corruption trial. The Attorney General's office approved the request on Sunday. Justice Minister Yariv Levin will act as caretaker Prime Minister, while Netanyahu is incapacitated. Defense Minister Israel Katz will serve as chairman of the Political Security Cabinet on Wednesday. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu underwent an examination at Hadassah Hospital, where a urinary tract infection caused by benign prostatic hyperplasia was detected. Over the past few days, the Prime Minister has received antibiotic treatment, which successfully eradicated the infection, the Prime Minister's office announced on Saturday. Consequently, The Prime Minister will undergo a procedure tomorrow to remove the prostate. Full details will be provided later, the statement said. Despite this, Sunday's cabinet meeting will take place as planned. Although Netanyahu's health issues began on Wednesday, no notifications of the Prime Minister's health have been issued until now. Prime Minister will not appear in court as a result. Haddad added that he was requesting the hearing cancellation for this week, but that he would update the court going forward as to Netanyahu's recovery. Last year, Netanyahu, 75, was fitted with a pacemaker to control an irregular heartbeat. He was also hospitalized for dehydration. Earlier this year, Netanyahu underwent hernia surgery. Badinach allies dismiss nonsense claims she asked GB News to cut Faraj's airtime. Sources close to Tory leader reject report amid tensions over Badinach's claim reform fake membership numbers. Kemi Badinach has not yet commented on Nigel Farage's calls for an apology. Photograph. Sopa Images / Light Rocket / Getty Images. Kemi Badinach allies dismiss nonsense claims she asked GB News to cut Faraj's airtime. Sources close to Tory leader reject report amid tensions over Badinach's claim reform fake membership numbers. Rowena Mason, Whitehall editor. Sunday, December 29, 2024, 13.13 GMT. Share allies of Kemi Badinach have dismissed as nonsense claims that she asked GB News to cut airtime for Nigel Farage. It follows a row in which the Tory leader accused Reform of faking its membership numbers. Farage said Reform surpassed the Tories in membership on Boxing Day and has called on Badinach to apologize for her accusations that the figures are manipulated. In a fresh twist, Badinach was reported by the Mail on Sunday to have raised Farage's prominence on GB News, where he is a presenter, in a meeting with the channel's chief executive. She is reported to have warned against the broadcaster becoming a haven for her critics. Sources close to Badinach said the account was totally wrong, and the story should be ignored. A GB News spokesperson said, "The meeting took place without any acrimony and was very constructive." However, GB News reported on the Mail on Sunday story on its Ben Leo show on Saturday night, with its presenter saying it was an extraordinary development. The presenter said they had invited Badinach and any members of the shadow cabinet to appear on GB News since Boxing Day and had been met with stonewall silence. The program subsequently played a clip of Badinach saying she never makes any gaffes because she considers carefully what she says before speaking. The spat between Badinach and Farage over the membership numbers has caused unease among some conservatives who would like to see the two parties draw closer together rather than attacking each other. Andrea Jenkins, a former Tory MP who defected to Reform, told GB News on Sunday that Badinach had trampled on any potential relationship between the Tories and Reform. Badinach has not commented so far on Farage's calls for an apology, but her allies have claimed the Reform leader is rattled by her intervention. Farage has said he will take action against Badinach unless she says sorry for accusing him of publishing fake Reform membership data. The Reform leader said he had opened up his database to media organizations after Badinach claimed his party had coded an online counter to tick up automatically. Nigel Farage, who is pictured attending a hunt on Boxing Day in Surrey, had been celebrating membership to Reform surpassing 130,000. Photograph. Kevin Coombs / Reuters. Farage had been celebrating surpassing more than 130,000 Reform members on Boxing Day, exceeding the number of Tory members when Badinach was elected as party leader in the autumn. Badinach responded with a thread on X accusing Farage and Reform of manipulating the public and presenting fake figures with an online ticker that was automated and not based on real people joining the Farage party appears to be growing in support. Although another election is 4 years away, a new poll for the Sunday Times by More in Common found that Labour could lose its majority if a new contest were to be held now. The people's voting intentions are unlikely to be settled this far out from an election, but the poll found that Labour would still be the largest party, with 228 seats. The Tories would be in second place on 222 seats. Reform Party would climb to third place with 72 MPs. The Liberal Democrats would fall to fourth on 58 seats. And the SNP would be in fifth on 37 seats. This is what we're up against. A media ecosystem dominated by a handful of billionaire owners. Bad actors spreading disinformation online to fuel intolerance. Teams of lawyers from the rich and powerful trying to stop us publishing stories they don't want you to see. Lobby groups with opaque funding who are determined to undermine facts about the climate emergency and other established science. Authoritarian states with no regard for the freedom of the press. The Guardian is funded by readers like you in Bangladesh, and the only person who decides what we publish is our editor. If you can, please support us on a monthly basis. It takes less than a minute to set up, and you can rest assured that you're making a big impact every single month in support of open, independent journalism. Thank you.